That was incredible and deeply moving. Thank you all for being here. We have one final panel before we have our cocktail party, and I'm so thrilled to welcome Molly Day, who is the amazing Chief Operating Officer of Moms First, an incredible organization. I'm sure she will tell you more about it, but they have really been such a huge and impactful leader on childcare in this conversation nationally, and so we are just so lucky to have her today to lead this conversation.
Thank you, Grace. All right, come on up, folks. Okay. Hi, everybody. We are the last panel before cocktails, as Grace just said. So I'm Molly Day. I'm the Chief Operating Officer at Moms First. We are a national organization fighting to ensure that all moms can thrive. And that means paid leave and affordable childcare. So I'm here today, and I'm actually just going to start. I'm a mom to a 6-year-old and a 3-year-old. Hopefully next year that 3-year-old goes to pre-K at his big sister's public school. And I don't know about you, but being a parent is the hardest job that I have ever loved. And I had no idea what was coming for me when I realized I had to parent while working. So I would like a little audience participation. Please raise your hand, and my panelists as well, if you have ever had to miss a meeting because of your childcare falling through. Okay, keep your hand up. Please raise your hand if you've ever had to reschedule a meeting because you had to take care of a sick parent. We've got some sandwich generation folks, thank you, in the room. Raise your hand if you've ever had to change your job or leave the workforce because of childcare issues or caregiving issues. Some hands there. These are very real issues, and something that has been core to our work at Moms First for years has been the reframe of childcare, not as a personal problem, but as an economic imperative. We saw today, we've been having conversation all day long. This is not a personal problem to solve, it's a collective issue because it impacts all of our lives, our companies, and our economies. So with that, I'm really excited to have some incredible friends and panelists here from Moms First National Business Coalition for Childcare, over 200 businesses strong. And we want to really close out the conversation today with, I think as Nicole from BCG was saying, some tangible examples of what excellence looks like and what you get when you invest in care. Okay, so I'd love to get started. I'm going to have my panelists introduce themselves for you with their name, their company, and tell me what balancing work and family is. Fill in the blank. So, Kruti, you want to start?
My name is Kruti Patel Goyal. I am President and Chief Growth Officer here at Etsy. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for having me. I am also a mom to almost 12-year-old twins, who I had when I was here at Etsy. And balancing being a parent and working, I would say, is like a crazy, constant juggling act that is constantly evolving, because as soon as you think you have figured it out, work changes or your kids' needs change. It's kind of like the image that it conjures up for me is one of those amazing street performers at Covent Garden in London, where they start out juggling 3 balls and all of a sudden there's like an orange in there, and then before you know it, they're balancing on 1 foot, juggling flaming torches. You know, it's like that constant juggling act.
I think as a twin mom, you've got like an elephant thrown in there, you know, so thank you. Thank you. All right, Donna.
Yes, hi everyone. My name is Donna Randell, and I am the Chief Auditor at Synchrony. We are a consumer financing company based in Stamford, Connecticut, and we have an amazing office in Bryant Park, which is a complete customer and client experience center, and so we're excited to be here. Synchrony is a Fortune 200 company. We're the #2 great place to work in the US and the #1 great place to work in New York, which we're very proud of. We think a lot of what we're going to talk about today has really helped us to achieve that. I am also a mom. I'm a late in life new mom. I have a 2-year-old at home. I fought very long and hard to get him here, and so I am loving the same journey, and I liked the way you said it. It's the best, hardest job I've ever had. Is that how you said it?
Yeah, you got it.
It's lovely, but it really is a lot harder than I thought it would be, and being in a C-suite role And being a new mum, once I'm set in my ways as an older mum, it's definitely been an adjustment, and healthcare and childcare has been a big part of that. None of our family is here. Obviously, I'm not from here. I'm from Australia, and my husband's from Seattle. So everyone who helps us with our little boy, we pay. And so this concept of accessible and affordable childcare is really near and dear to my heart as well. As far as work-life balance, I love a book called Power Mums. It's stories of all different power mums that have been figuring out how to get the balance. One of them is Margaret Keane, who is our former CEO at Synchrony, who is my personal power mum role model. And that book talks about work-life sway, which I think is a term I've consistently come back to in the last 2 years, which is it's not one answer, it's a prioritization that's constantly changing day after day. And I think I hear that consistently from most parents who are trying to figure that out.
I love that, the sway. Okay, thank you. All right, and Jamie.
Hi, I don't think this mic works. I think we learned that on the last panel. So, hi, Jamie Gross. I'm a managing director at Deloitte. I am the head of benefits for our U.S. firm, as well as our India firm, Costa Rica, and Mexico. And also responsible for our retirement programs. I am also a mom to 2 boys, an 18-year-old and a 16-year-old. So I'm in a little bit of a different phase of life than you ladies are. No, it doesn't. It gets harder with college and many things. But I live here in New York City. I've spent my entire career practically at Deloitte. Raising my children, which I think says a lot about my experience as a working mom. In terms of balance, I think you've already covered it, right? I think it's achievable, but it's not something I always tell women that I mentor. It's not a set it and forget it thing. It's constantly evolving. You have to be flexible. You have to plan for it, but you have to be flexible and you have to be agile. And I think especially at Deloitte, our flexibility, we do talk similar to the sway, right? It's the dial up, dial down concept depending upon where you are, in your career and in your life. And like I said, I've been at Deloitte for 26 plus years. And it has evolved significantly for women, I would say, especially throughout the benefits and the childcare that we offer. But I wouldn't still be here, right, if it didn't work for me, because obviously my family's so important.
Wonderful. Thank you. And thanks for those nuggets I will be taking forward. So we'd love to start a little bit with the why for each of your companies. Why did you choose to invest? What did you do? And what are you learning? So Donna, I'm going to start with you and hear a little bit about Synchrony and that best to work for Synchrony in New York City. I love it.
Yes, number one in New York.
Number one.
Yes, of course. So when I think back to kind of the journey that Synchrony's been on, we've always had great benefits. I've worked there for 13 years, but I think the pandemic really shifted how we thought about which benefits would work best for our employee base. We know that the pandemic disproportionately affected women, and we have not come back from that yet. So even though we're so far out of the pandemic, thank goodness, we still have to think about how to advance these types of benefits to make sure we not only get back to where we were, but we continue to advance. So at Synchrony, I like to say we're obsessed with feedback. We're always surveying, we're always wanting to get voice of the employee. And so we have sent out multiple childcare specific surveys to our employee population, which is predominantly women and predominantly hourly paid as well, to ask them, what do you need? What's top of mind? What's stressing you out? And then we've also elevated that to ask, what do you actually want? Because when you think about developing benefits for your employee base, it's not just to help you survive, which some days I feel like I'm just surviving. It's also to help them thrive. And so it's not just the baseline, what do you need to show up to work? It's what do you want so you can be excited to come to work and thrive when you're at work. And so we got some pretty unique ideas out of these surveys. One of them, we expanded our emergency backup care from 10 days to 60 days. But what was really interesting about what we heard is the way they wanted to get paid, and this came up a little bit on the prior panel. We not only reimburse for known daycare facilities, but you can actually get cash reimbursed to pay your mom, or to pay your neighbor, or pay your friend. And as a mom of a little 2-year-old who does get sick, it's usually the emergency backup care you need when your baby's sick, right? The daycare says they've got a fever, they can't come in. It's terrifying to hand your child over to a provider you've never met before and you don't know. how comforting is it for our employee base to be able to say, you know what, I can have my friend, my mom, my sister come over, and I can get you paid through my company. So it was a really simple but really unique way to get more of not just what they needed, which was more days of backup care, 60 days, but what they wanted, which was that peace of mind, who was going to take care of their baby. And then another thing that came through really clearly is the concept of wellness. So the absence of childcare, accessibility, affordability creates a lot of stress for parents, but especially for mums. And so we have wellness coaches that every employee can access for free. But what we added was parenting coaches. So more than 50% of our wellness coaches now specifically are trained in parenting and can help you to think through how you navigate that work-life sway as a working mom.
That's fantastic. And I think to this piece about the flexible benefits, we've really seen that as a trend in this last 5 years or so of more companies starting to think about what do my employees actually want and how can I give them greater flexibility than the de facto backup care at a center, which may work for some, but actually isn't a great fit for others. So I think that the listening that you're speaking to is really, really critical to getting it right. So Jamie, would love to hear a little bit more. Deloitte's been a longtime leader on caregiving benefits, and something I have always loved in working with you all is the gender neutral uptake that you've had of paid leave. Can you tell us a little bit more about that and what culturally has been important to achieving that?
Yeah, so just to maybe level set, at Deloitte, eligible professionals are eligible for up to 16 weeks of paid family leave, and we're very intentional in calling it family leave. And I think one of the reasons that it has been so successful in terms of us seeing both male and females taking advantage of it is the fact that we expanded the definition of what the care was for, outside of just the traditional birth of a child. So the ability to be able to take up to 16 weeks of paid family leave to care for the birth of a child that you adopted, a sick or elderly sibling or parent who has a medical illness that they need care for. I think the expansive definition of it has certainly allowed more people within the firm to take advantage of it. The second thing that I would say about it is you hit on it already, is the fact that it really is gender neutral, right? So it applies to everybody across the firm, male and female. And I think what that's done is it's really taken away the fact that it's just the female at home taking care of the child, right, after a child is born. And the program allows you to take the leave over a rolling 365-day period. And I love that because it gives you the flexibility to be able to take it when it works for you. So if you think about a two-income household, if you're fortunate enough that both parents actually do get some paid time off, you might not necessarily want to take it together, right? Because maybe somebody stays home for the first 3 months and then goes back to work, and then the other caregiver stays home for the next 3 months, right? Or maybe you want to roll it into a period of time over the summer where you might have another child at home. And we all know that summertime care tends to be some of the most difficult time for childcare for parents, right? So that ability to take it over the course of the 365 days and the flexibility, I think has really contributed to us seeing it. And lastly, I think we're really proud of our program, and we really do try to model positive behavior in the firm, and wherever possible, have our leaders be very open and transparent about their experiences of taking leaves and how it's worked for them, or just frankly, why are you leaving the office early today? Well, I'm taking my son to his SAT tutor, right? That's what happens. You have SAT tutors. But I think that transparency makes it an environment where people all feel that they can take advantage of the leave.
That's something to that quickly. Sure, please.
So I do the same thing, and I'm trying to model the same behavior, but with Mommy and Me classes. So I tell my team on Thursday mornings and Friday mornings, I take my boy to Mommy and Me classes when I can. And actually this week I can't, either day. So I can't do today, I can't do tomorrow. But when I can, I go. And I tell everyone about that because it's modeling the right behavior. A dad on my team has 4, maybe 5 kids. He told me he blocks his calendar to get them from the bus. And he was a little bit embarrassed to tell me. I'm like, John, I love it. tell everyone, model it, normalize it. And I love that it's a dad doing it as well. So I just wanted to add, I'm doing Mummy and Me, you're doing SAT tutors.
Also, I've got to say, having
Yeah.
4 or 5 children is really overachieving. Also,
I know, he was, I told him that.
Well, Kruti, this is a good segue because when I think about Etsy and your caregiving benefits and the work we've done together with the BCG report on the ROI for care, the culture piece was big. The other thing, though, is that you all have been very intentional about not only investing in your employees, but thinking about your sellers and the small business owners. So can you tell us a little bit about your investments and then what that's inspired vis-a-vis
Sure.
your Etsy sellers?
So at Etsy, we've understood for a long time the importance of parental leave and access to childcare for attracting and retaining really world-class talent. And so for us, and I think for all businesses, it's not just a nice to have, it's a need to have. And so back in 2016, actually, we introduced a real industry-leading parental leave program, which some of you heard about earlier from Josh in the opening today. But we offer 26 weeks of paid leave that is gender neutral, regardless of how you become a parent. So whether you're an adoptive parent, a surrogate parent, whether you yourself give birth, whether your partner gives birth. And you can take it all at once or you can take it in multiple parts. And then we provide support after you come back from work, both in the term of backup care credits through partners like Vivi, as well as through re-onboarding support. And, I've really I've experienced the impact of that and the benefit of that over my 15-year journey here at Etsy in multiple ways. So I had my kids in 2013 before we had this policy in place. And it's kind of crazy to think back then, given given our workforce, we had to put in place our very first policy in 2012 because our CEO was the first person to have a kid at the company, followed by our COO. And then 2 years later, I had my children. And then in 2016, we obviously introduced this new policy. And what I've seen as a manager leading larger and larger teams, very directly, the impact that this has on our ability to recruit really amazing talent and then retain that talent through the seasons and evolution of their careers. And particularly being at a technology company, I ran our product development organization for 4 years. So product management, research design, and my team was over 60% women. So our ability to not only attract, but also retain and impact the gender balance of our team is really impressive. Our engineering team is a third women, which is about 3 times the size of the average tech engineering org. And I think seeing our ability to retain talent over many, many years, particularly in the tech industry, I credit in large part to the fact that we really actively support families through our policies. And then you talked about our sellers. We listen a lot to our employees. We listen a lot to our seller community. We often talk about Etsy as a people-powered marketplace, and it's literally powered by our seller community. And the story you heard on the last panel from our amazing seller is not uncommon. It's something that we hear a lot from our sellers, this challenge and the struggle of balancing building a business with raising a family and a business at the same time. It's one of the biggest headwinds or challenges that these entrepreneurs face. And so knowing that, it's really important to us to advocate for our seller community as well, to make sure that that same access and affordability for childcare is there for the self-employed community. Because what we see is that when our community overall thrives, when our sellers thrive, Etsy thrives, and our economy thrives. And I think that's true not just for our business, but for all of our businesses.
I really love that because I think that's something I just want to underscore for folks in the room today. These are not only ways that you as an employer can be best in class, but I think employers are then learning through the provision of these benefits. Wow, what is it like for other people out there that impact our businesses? And what more do we need to see when it comes to public policy if we can't deliver for them? So thank you for that. I'd love to hear a little bit about some lessons learned because I know that's a big piece. I think someone was saying as a parent, you're constantly needing to evolve and learn. And I think that's true with this work. So, Donna, I'm going to start with you and just hear, what's one lesson that you wish you had known when you started your investments at Synchrony?
Yeah, of course. So we rolled out the benefits I talked about, and similar to what you had mentioned with the BCG report, that return on investment was really clear to us. And it was exciting as well. So we thought, okay, maybe we got this right off the bat. We had a 30% increase in applicant flow and a 45% decrease in unexpected absences. So we were like, yes, we got it right. But what we learned is you have to keep pivoting. You have to keep listening and you have to test and learn. And that's how we added those additional elements that I spoke about earlier. It's not just about 60 days, it's about who's taking care of my baby. And it's not just about childcare, it's helped me mentally to get through the stresses that I'm experiencing. So I think if we could go all the way back, we would want to tell ourselves, listen early, solicit that feedback, but then test and learn because you'll actually get better over time. This isn't a one and done kind of static answer for any of it.
Great. Thank you so much. And Jamie, with Deloitte, I wanted to ask you, you've used, as a company, used your voice to really advocate for workplace policies beyond your own walls. What's one example of how you've influenced broader change, and how can other companies do the same?
Yeah, I think at Deloitte we'll do a couple of things. So first, I think we are always open to speaking with lawmakers, policymakers around our program and the importance of it. And I think, you've all touched on, the obvious benefits, in terms of retention of talent. The prior panel was talking about the expense of us, hiring somebody and retraining somebody, just really the importance of us being able to attract and retain the best talent. So certainly always putting our voice out there from a policy lawmaker perspective. But then I'd say we do two other things as well. We want to talk to our clients about our programs, right? And so prior to my current role, I spent 25 years in our tax practice at Deloitte, and I would welcome my clients to call me and ask me about our programs. We want to share it. I would welcome my peers, and our competitors. Of course, I want people to come spend their career at Deloitte, but if I can help a fellow peer organization understand the value of our programs, I'm going to share our experiences and our journey of how we have evolved. And then the last thing I would say that we do is obviously we are a consulting business, we're a tax business, and we sell these services to clients, right? Clients that want to implement these programs and establish their HR strategies. We leverage our own experiences from our programs in helping them set forth theirs. And the prior panel was talking about the tax credits and the complexity of them. We want to help employers work through those complicated tax credits and take advantage of them so that they too, can be incentivized to offer these programs. So there's just a few ways that, beyond our walls, like we want to try to help employers see the value of the programs.
Yeah, that's fantastic. It's a really important ripple effect we need to see more of. So, Kruthi, I'm going to come back to you on thinking about the lessons learned, in particular with public policy. So we were so honored to go to Capitol Hill with you all earlier this year to advocate for the expansion of some of those childcare tax credits. Not sufficient, but $16 billion doesn't hurt. And so I would love to hear a little bit more about the leap that Etsy has taken from thinking about your own employees to public policy. How did you get to that point? What can others learn from that?
Yeah, so I was saying earlier how it's really important that we listen to our sellers as such a critical part of our business. And our seller community is really unique. Our sellers are 80% women. They're almost 90% businesses of one. They're self-employed. And almost all of them work from home. So we've got this incredible community of self-employed people who we are hearing from regularly that one of the biggest challenges that they face is in balancing growing their businesses with managing their childcare responsibilities. And so what we realized is that it's pretty critical for us to be able to achieve our mission of keeping commerce human, to be able to elevate and advocate for this broader seller community of ours, to make sure that their voices and their needs are heard in these forums with public policymakers, and really even further than that, make sure that that we're able to help them have a seat at the table, to make sure that in this conversation, but this public-private conversation, that we understand that our economies only thrive if that access and affordability of childcare is available to not only employees of big corporate organizations, but also to the self-employed workforce that makes up all of, the micro businesses and the small businesses that make our overall economy thrive. And so that's really been the motivating force, and the key learning is that, we all thrive together.
That's great. Thank you. And I mean, I think we've really seen from our experience, whether it's Capitol Hill or here more locally, that when business speaks out about something, politicians listen. It's one more important stakeholder we need to have around the table. So I know we're getting close to end of time. So this is the lightning round, last question. But to leave, I'd love to have each of you leave this room with something. You can address it to the employers in the audience, the advocates, or public policymakers. What's one message you would give to them from a business leader point of view about why childcare is an economic imperative and what you want to see them do with that?
Want me to get started?
Sure, Jamie, you're ready. I can see.
I'm ready with the mic. I would say, we've already talked about the importance of talent, right? There's amazing talent out there, and we need to make sure that we keep them in the workforce. But what I say, for me, what it really comes down to is don't make them choose, right? Like, don't make them choose between having a successful career and having a family. Let them have both, right? And empower them and enable them to do that through your programs. That's what I would say.
So I'll add to that. Earlier comment about listen to your employees, test and learn, pivot, and provide not only what they need, but what they want. But I did just see a really cool LinkedIn video that talked about the choice. I shouldn't have to choose between girl boss or trad wife. I shouldn't have to choose between C-suite position. I know, it was Reshma. I know.
That sounds familiar.
Just doing a humble brag. I shouldn't have to choose between the C-suite role I'm in and this adorable little 2-year-old boy that I have at home. And so companies that can lean in, listen, and allow us to be exactly the version of us that we want to be at home and at work, I think is super empowering. It's super important. And if you read the BCG report, it actually returns the investment multiple times over.
My message is to business leaders, and that is, if you think you can't afford to invest in fuller support for families and family leave, I would challenge you and say you can't afford not to. And then the second thing, I'm going to cheat a little. Second thing I would say is it's better to get started now and start making progress with the tools and the resources at our disposal today. So don't wait for the perfect policy and programs out there. Start making progress towards the end that we want to see and achieve later.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Jamie, Donna, Kruthi. We appreciate all of your lessons learned, and I hope this room is really taking some inspiration, as Kruthi said, to just get started if you are an employer on your own benefits, and also to think bigger. I'll just end, yesterday, Moms First and Partnership for New York put out an op-ed, and in it we said, the investments an employer makes are critical and they are never enough. And so we need to have some public solutions to really deliver for every single person, because we're all going to be better off for it, our families, our communities, and our economy. So thank you so much. And thank you so much, Grace and Emmy and Five Borough, for having us here today. Yeah.